Hello and welcome to another episode of Garden to Table with Rose. Here we are. It is the beginning of June and I am finally at the end of planting crops. The last thing I'm planting here are sweet potatoes. And so I had some sweet potato slips that I ordered. I can't remember if I got them from Burpee or Gurney's. One of the two. Either way, it just came in the mail and they didn't look very good. I was not impressed. I mean, I expected them to have a little bit more green on them, maybe a few leaves, but they are pretty shriveled up. So I have two types. This one is called Vardaman, and I can't tell you anything about this variety. I've never grown sweet potatoes, but I think I ordered a dozen slips. It came with a dozen of them for whatever price. I can't remember the price. And these look better than the other ones. I mean, there is half greener, half of it's green, the top, but there were no leaves. You can see small roots coming out of the bottom. That's kind of how I just distinguished the top from the bottom, but since there were no leaves, the green part I assume was the top, and the bottom is kind of tan with a few little sprigs of roots coming out of it. So when I got them, they were just bundled together in some like wet newspaper or something, and I just took them apart and put them in a glass of water to get ready to plant, to kind of rehydrate them. This other variety is called Murasaki, which sounds Japanese to me. I can't remember what was special about this variety. They may have been purple skin with white potatoes, maybe? White sweet potato, the flesh. I'm not sure, but these look pretty beat up. So I don't even think I got a dozen that I can plant. I just, kept the ones that didn't look dead. And so there may be like 9 or 10 of these. But anyway, I'm going to plant these, and I like planting all my potatoes in some kind of enclosed container. So either a grow bag or a tub, a planter, a gigantic pot, because it's just easier to deal with them and easier to harvest. You don't have to dig and dig and dig and hope you dig them all up out of the ground. Instead, I can just like put down a tarp, dump the container out, take the potatoes out, and then I have my dirt there that I can reuse or put in the compost bin or whatever I want to do with it. So I tend to grow all my potatoes in containers. Now, I was going to get big pots, like just plain plastic pots, and I'm telling you, I could not find one that was under 20 bucks, and that was just for a 16-inch across pot. They weren't very big, but they were expensive, and I needed I figured 3 or 4, and I was not going to spend that kind of money. So you know what I did? I got some totes. They were on sale at the local home store. These are just the totes, the plastic ones that come with the lids. So this is an 18-gallon one. It looked big enough to me, so that's the size I got. I wanted to be able to lift it too, so I didn't want it too big. But I got 4 of these. They were like $5 a piece, so I just got 4 of them. Now, I could have gotten those big tubs, those feed tubs that I got from Tractor Supply. Those weren't bad. Those were $35 a piece, and they're pretty big. But I didn't feel like going back to Tractor Supply, and this is a little cheaper, and I figured let's try something different. So now the thing with a tote is that you're gonna have to drill some holes in it for drainage, okay? So, because you need your whatever you plant to drain. So for that, I have my lovely cordless drill, and it would be helpful if you had I don't even know what you call these, to be honest with you. It's a set, and they're all round drill bits that you can connect onto your drill, and it just creates bigger holes. So I don't know what they call this. auger bit, hole making drill bit, but you need a separate bit for this, bottom line. And mine came in a case with several sizes, and it has the little drill part that attaches to it, and you just switch them out. So that's what I'm using. What I found with this one is that it can only go through 2 of these, because I would have liked to stack all 4 of them and then just drilled my holes and been done, but no, it will only reach through 2. And I just picked this size. This just seemed like a good size where the water could drain out and it wouldn't let too much of the dirt and stuff out, but you can pick whatever size you want. So I'm going to drill a few holes, not many, maybe 4, 5, 6, I don't know, in the bottom of there. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that sweet potatoes are very different than planting like white potatoes, right? So with sweet potatoes, usually you get slips like this, and you can make your own, I heard, from sweet potatoes that you, I guess, buy from the store. I've never tried that. That's a whole process. So I just order them because there's a lot of varieties and they're not too expensive. But if you were doing white potatoes, what you would normally do is order seed potatoes. And I already planted mine, so I can't do that as part of this video. I already planted my white potatoes. But basically, you get a little potato or a bag of them, however many you order. Usually there's several, per order. And whatever variety you have, and now this isn't a seed potato, this is just a regular yellow potato that I got out of the kitchen to demonstrate, because I don't have any more seed potatoes. But usually they're pretty small, the ones I've gotten. And I've gotten several varieties. So they're pretty small. They're grown specifically for seed potatoes, meaning they're not eating potatoes. They're to grow more potatoes, so keep that in mind. These little divots you see on the outside of a potato, those are called eyes, right? So that's where your potato is going to start sprouting from. So when you have seed potatoes, if they're small, you can plant the whole one. Like something like this, I wouldn't bother to cut it. If you had bigger ones, you can actually cut it. As long as you have like at least 3 eyes on each potato, you should be good to go. But if you cut them, then I would let them dry out. You can just let them sit in your house somewhere and air dry for a couple of days. I usually just put mine in my dehydrator on low for several hours and let them dry out that way. But I don't know that I even had to cut any since I ordered all seed potatoes. Now, I will say that there's sirens. There's sirens in the background. I live fairly close to a hospital. Not too far, maybe about 3 miles from a hospital, which is convenient, but we hear sirens a lot. Anyway, I have tried growing potatoes from regular potatoes, which you aren't supposed to do because they spray regular potatoes with something to inhibit sprouting. But I tell you, all the potatoes I get sprout. I mean, I don't refrigerate potatoes. I usually keep them in a potato bin in my kitchen, a wire like basket thing. And if they sit there long enough, eventually most of them start to sprout. So I decided one year that I would try planting the regular potatoes, and they actually grew. The thing was, I didn't get many potatoes for the harvest. It only, each piece that I planted only gave me a handful of potatoes, 3, 4 potatoes. So it really wasn't worth it to go the whole summer and not get that many potatoes. Maybe you would have better luck with organic potatoes because they're not sprayed. I do not know. I haven't tried that. But I'm going to stick to the seed potatoes. So also, when you plant white potatoes, you don't want to plant them in a lot of dirt, right? So you want to plant them in, I would say, 4 or 5 inches of whatever kind of soil mix you're using, because you're going to heal them up. Right? So the thing with white potatoes is you can't let the actual potato be exposed to sunlight because it'll turn it green, and then it creates some kind of toxic substance, that green stuff. When your peels are like greenish, that's not good. So you keep healing with more dirt as they grow to keep from exposing the actual potato. And so you start with a little bit, And then, you know, once it starts growing and you add like plants there, then you add a little bit more. And you might do that a couple of times over the season, 2-3 times. So that's what you're doing with white potatoes. And then what I do with all potatoes is I just pretty much wait till the tops start to wither and shrivel up and die and turn brown. And then to me, that's the message that it's time to harvest them. Okay, so sweet potatoes are different in that you have slips. You're planting them like a regular plant, you know, so 3-4 inches, however far the roots go up into the ground, and that's it. And from what I have read, their sweet potatoes tend to vine. Like I look at my white potatoes and they're more like just plants, like bushy plants, right? So it's a bushy stalk. Whereas sweet potatoes, I think, are more like a vining kind of thing. Another reason to put it in a grow bag, because unless you have acreage, you know, to have sprawling vines all over the place, and you kind of want to keep it contained. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to drill these holes. I don't need the lids, obviously, for these totes, but I'm going to drill my holes. I'm going to fill it with my potting mix that I make up myself with peat moss, which I got a new supply, so I got tons of that, and compost. I'm using bad compost manure. I mix that in. I mix some vermiculite in there. I got some blood meal, some bone meal. That's about it. Maybe some chicken poo maybe in that mixture. It's kind of whatever fertilizers I have on hand at the time. You could use earthworm castings, which I haven't harvested my first supply of those yet. You could use your own homemade compost, which I finally got my first supply of that, but I used it on my big garden bed, so that's all gone. So that's what I'm going to use, and I'm going to get to planting, and that's it. So here we go. First we drill the holes. And so, sweet potatoes take a long time, from what I read, to mature. So, there probably won't be sweet potatoes until the end of the season, like fall, almost, I don't know, September or something. But that's okay, because sweet potatoes actually store really well. So, it's one that if you have a cold basement, you can store them for probably the whole winter. I have an extra fridge in my garage that I kind of use as a root cellar, because my basement really stays pretty warm. Half of it's finished, so there's heat that circulates down there. So it will not function as a cold storage. You need, like, I would say about 40-45 degrees for cold storage. So my little fridge in the garage, I don't know. So now it's kind of my bins full of my mixture. It took a lot, actually. I think I used 2.5 of these big bags of peat moss, which is 2.2 cubic foot compressed. I used 2.5 of those. I used 30 bags of composted manure, and then, like I said, I added vermiculite, just kind of 1 to 4 compared to the peat moss. And I added chicken poo just because I have that on hand, and blood meal and bone meal. So that's my mixture. Now I'm going to wet this all down before I plant, and I'm going to tell you, it takes a lot of water to saturate peat moss and vermiculite. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant while I'm letting this go. I don't have a fast stream, and that's because I have a adapter on my outside faucet. I just have one outside faucet, so I have an adapter that allows for 4 hoses to be on it, and right now I'm watering my berry bed, this long one, and the main bed. So this is the 3rd hose that's going. So You know, it's only so much water you can get out of one faucet. So let me get a little bit of water going. And it takes a while for water to soak into peat moss. Like literally, you can just drench it and then leave it and come back in, 15 minutes or so, 30 minutes, and it'll probably just have absorbed. It takes a while. All right, so I'll leave that there, and let's get our potatoes. All right, got my potatoes, and I'm going to get a little shovel so I don't get my hands all muddy. I would recommend generally using gardening gloves just because when you're dealing with a lot of the soil, there's bugs in it. All kinds of bugs, spiders, worms. And you don't necessarily want to touch that stuff with your hands. You don't want to get all that stuff up under your nails. I don't know if it could cause infection or what. But this is a mix I just mixed. And it's hot. So I don't feel like putting on gloves. So I put these 4 bins here. And I have some black fencing in a row. Actually, I have green fencing. I have galvanized fencing. I have all kinds of rows of fencing. So there's a bee in it already. Look at that. Or a wasp. I can't tell which it is. But I may fence it off. Depends on if the dogs start messing with it or not. So let's start with the Murasaki. And I guess, I don't know. I think I have so few of these that I don't know if I even need 2 bins for it. Some of them look like they might not make it. Really, there's only 3, maybe about 8 that look good. So I don't know. I don't know how close you're supposed to plant them. But I'm just going to wing it and see how it goes, see what survives. That one did not look that great. And I'm planting them down to where I see the little roots stop and it turns green. Oh God, those are so sad looking. I don't even know if I should plant those. They look dead. So for example, on this one, if you can see that, but it's the root part is like a pink, hot pink, and the little sprouted roots end about here. So that's where I'm going to plant it to. And when you're dealing with this kind of mix, the nice thing is it's really light, so it's easy to plant in it. I don't know what I'll do with these. These look, like I said, like dead. There's like 4 of them. I think I'll just plant these all together with a good looking one. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to plant all of these in one because I don't know how many of these are going to make it. They don't look that great. So that is what I'm going to do. So I got 8. Which isn't much. 8 of those in there. So I'm going to water that in. And then, let's see, this one is pretty good. So I'll put that there to water it in. And then these 3 I'm going to plant with the Vardaman because I have a lot of that. I'm sure I should probably have about 12 of these. So I'll do like 4 in each bin. Just because I'm trying to maximize and get as many sweet potatoes as I can. So I don't want to overcrowd them. These are a lot greener, as you can see. I don't have much in terms of roots coming off the end, but at least the tops are really green. So that's something. So I'm just going to put 4, like I said, 4 of these in each one. Then basically all you're gonna do is water this all in. And I'll come back tomorrow and water it again just because this peat moss was really dry. There's that one there. So basically I got 1 container of the Murasaki and 3 containers of Vardaman. And then I have, I think it's O. Henry. I have a few of those that I got in a different order. I can't remember from where, but those look like they got beat up in the cool weather. They came really early, I think prematurely for my zone, but since I had them, I needed to plant them. I did keep them in my little makeshift greenhouse, so it did stay a lot warmer in there, but the frost still got to them. And I think that's an actual bee because it's tiny. Usually the wasps around here are big. So this thing is minute and it's striped. It's some kind of bee. This is a good sign because we need pollinators. We need them to carry pollen from plants to plants so we can grow some fruit. Take my glasses inside. And that's all I got for today. I mean, that's it. And like I said, sweet potatoes take a long time. It's the whole season. So it won't be until very end of summer, beginning of fall, until they're probably ready. So what I will do is, I don't know, every 3 weeks or so, probably add some kind of fertilizer. I gotta read up on it and see what kind they like. But I'll do that. I try to do weekly fertilizing now that everything's planted, which is a job in and of itself because it's so spread out, right? I got all of these bins. I got this whole bed of stuff, the berry bed. I got this whole field. I got another field way over there that's Brussels sprouts mostly and onions. And then I got my whole grapevine, berry vines growing here, plus 4 green stalks, 2 raised beds, and several fruit trees. Now the fruit trees I don't have to fertilize, but I do have to water those once a week. So it's a lot to manage, I will admit, but I think it's going to be a lot easier now that everything's planted. Now it's just watering, fertilizing, and weeding, you know, maybe once a week, and that's it. And then harvesting when it's all set and putting up supports. I still have to do that. You know, I just put out the tomato plants, but I need to get supports. I'm really concerned because my drip irrigation, I don't think it's giving enough water to the tomatoes and the peppers and stuff. And I think probably, it seems like it's because that black weed barrier is on top of it. It probably would have been ideal to put it up under the weed barrier. But with that soaker hose system, it's not reliable. The ends blow out a lot. So if I put it up under there, then it would have been hard to check it. Like every time I turn it on, I have to go and check each row and make sure the little plug in the end hasn't blown off or something hasn't come apart. So I don't want it under it, but at the same time it just seems like it's not enough water. So right now, because they're so small, I may even do some supplemental watering with a sprinkler. I know you're not supposed to do overhead watering, but they're really tiny. I mean, they don't have much greenery, so it's not like they won't dry out, they won't stay wet. So I might do some overhead watering to get them off to a good start, because I don't want to lose my tomato plants. I mean, I put way too much effort into growing all these seedlings. I had trays and trays of seedlings, hundreds probably. So, you know, I want as many as possible to survive. So we will see what I end up doing. I do not know, but I will let you know. And also there should be my next video. I think I'll be doing a garden tour because I haven't done one of those. I don't know if I did one I think I did one right at the beginning of May, right when it was time to start planting, and I don't think I've done one since then. But since then, I've harvested leafy greens. The peas are all flowering. I'm waiting for peas still, and it's getting hot, so that worries me because they don't like the heat. But yeah, so I'll do some garden tour videos probably next. In the meantime, I hope this was somewhat informative, or at the very least entertaining. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel so that you'll get an alert when new videos come out, which is every Wednesday, okay? And in the meantime, enjoy June. You know, we only get 3-4 warm months in Michigan, so enjoy it. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.